Thanks, Marcello. Hello, everybody from Hamburg, Germany. I thought we have 20 minutes, and as I saw also the slides before, I thought I'd just like keep talking and tell maybe a little bit of a story of a background, how my kind of way went from maybe a first dream of what I wanted to be to where I'm now. And then I thought maybe we have more of a conversation so that you can also talk and you know, I learn from you, hopefully. And I definitely want to know like from where everybody's dialing in, but maybe I start easily with a little bit of a background story. So right now I'm, as Marcelo said, I'm founder and curator at Futur.io, and we are an institute where we look at futures. You know, we look at exponential technologies and desirable futures, we say. We're based in Hamburg. We work throughout Europe in very amazing places and bring people together to learn from each other and see if we can get a feeling for the future. Because as we know, there's not really a, you know, very much of a highly predictive thing that everybody knows what will happen. We're basically all here to co-create it. And I think future and any kind of feeling for it is almost everything we do. Everybody like you and me, we are basically every day helping shape the future by stuff we buy, by stuff we don't buy, by, you know, how we travel, how we meet people, and how we bring our attention either to, you know, stuff we read or what we share on the web. So let me start maybe by zooming back to some of your age. And so I was, you know, at school, you know, closing my last kind of years and really didn't really know where I wanted to be, but that was somehow your age. And so I was, you know, at school, you know, closing my, okay, there was an echo. All right, so, so at that time, all of a sudden, I mean, there was some like computer stuff coming up already, and that was really new, and I was fascinated by it. But then at one point, the first computer animated film from Pixar, by that time, it was sort of an animated lamp, their logo, won a first award as a short film festival for at Montreux in Switzerland. And I was like fascinated and said, wow, this is the first time that computer stuff can really be creative. And they win awards. So this is like legit now. I want to be a film producer for computer animated movies. So where can I go study? And then literally I spent a year or two looking at universities. I went traveling towards the US, looked at different universities there. It was a, you know, a Greyhound tour for 30 days and looked at universities around my time. And people basically said, what do you mean computer animation? You mean computers? Okay, then you have to go to study IT. And I went there and they were like soldering stuff on hardware and typing assembler. I said, no, I want to be creative. I want to do, you know, design stuff with it. Ah, you want to be a designer? Okay, then you go to design school. So there I went and they had an open day, and they, instead of working with computers, they're drawing with figurines and there was like pencil stuff. And I said, no, I want to be creative with computers and maybe do something creative like marketing or advertising. Ah, you want to do marketing. And then marketing and MBA is something which in the end turned out more about bean counting than being anywhere creative. So that was sort of a time when it all started, and you could not, I had already the imagination, there were people already doing stuff, but you couldn't study it. And I think up until now, or maybe a couple of years ago, you actually had to either study or make an apprenticeship in Germany, for example. So at least you have to have one stamp that's at least, you know, to help your parents and everybody understand what you're doing. But after that, life evolves. So that definitely happened with me. I evolved almost every 2 years in something else. So I couldn't really, you know, go there, study, because even there was one study in America, or one university in America where you could do it. It was too expensive for me. I couldn't do it. But then I decided basically, okay, I don't want to go study, because if I had to wait you know, for a German professor to read a book from America, maybe to explain where all of this is heading, and then maybe even translate it into the local language. It would take 2 or 3 years for them to understand where this is going. And mind you, this was, you know, before the internet. So I'm talking from, you know, centuries ago. So now, if you, after that, basically, it took me a long while to work in, you know, computers, get my first job, producing CD-ROMs. So that was already creative. We, you know, drove a Harley in a green studio and produced CD-ROMs, got some awards. Then we went into online and later into mobile. And but what I really was always doing is sort of surfing the next wave. So I was always on wherever stuff is heading next, and where nobody can tell me, there's a book already and we have never done this. So I never went into old jobs. I always went into new jobs. And basically I created these jobs and startups basically in order to sustain myself, feel the passion, and driving this whole thing forward. And what I learned over time is that you really have to mostly follow your own passion and purpose, and try to look deep in what you are interested in. And for example, if I wanted to be the, you know, film producer for computer animated things, I didn't find the ideal first job right away where I could accomplish everything, but I got the first in, and that was towards computers. So I started at a computer company and I worked my way up basically through marketing and innovation. But just like a year ago or 2 years ago, I had an idea, and I went to Red Bull in Austria, and I said, I think we should do a challenge, a competition about desirable futures, because I think there's a lot of things we are doing where we don't really know where this is heading. You know, we have climate change, we have a lot of depressing things happening, and there's also a lot of good ideas out there, but not a lot of them get the voice, and not a lot of people who are active get recognized. And I think also the question is that we are not really encouraged dreaming for bigger, better ideas and the better world. It's something which is still considered, you know, yeah, it's not cool, it's not realistic, you have to, you know, do something real and don't stop dreaming. But I think all of any kind of imagination or any kind of new product basically came out of imagination. So some of you maybe know Star Trek is still around, and some of these sci-fi movies. But if you look at sci-fi, for example, and which is, you know, encouraging stories about where we're all going, most of them are pretty much dystopian. So not very much, oh, wow, did you see the movie? This is amazing. In 10 years, we're going to live like this. And we're doing like, you know, this is how we're having stuff around in the city. And it's amazing. And I want to hope that this is coming faster, said almost no one ever if you see a movie. So here's my question to you, which you can think about it, but I want to ask it a little bit later. If you know any kind of movies or stories which inspire you to something positive. So I felt there's a lot of, you know, Black Mirror out there, like stories which are not really encouraging. So similar to Blade Runner, all these kind of other movies. So I said, why don't we start a competition for young people to help us find desirable futures? So we had a big challenge, and there was like more than 1,000 videos in 60 seconds were sent to us. And we found the winner, or the top 20 people were invited to Lisbon. And we had a whole week of people basically taking their ideas, talking with futurists, technologists, storytellers, film people from Cannes or from festivals in Austin, and basically help them to develop their ideas. And then the winner, basically, he's called Christian. He's from Romania. He's at the beginning of the 20s. And he got the first prize. So his idea, which was 60 seconds, was now produced for 10 minutes by Red Bull Media House and just released about 1.5 months ago. And I think so. Basically, after, you know, a couple of decades of being in computers and in my world, I basically remembered my passion and tried to find a partner, which I was lucky to get with my whole team, and we could run this competition. And maybe for 60 seconds, I became maybe not the producer, but some kind of a, involved in producing ideas and movies. And so that was very rewarding. And in between, I think, you have all your age always still in front of you. There have been a lot of changes and a lot of adaptation for, now it's a crisis, stuff happens, you move, your parents move, your university is shut down, or whatever happens. I think there's the best times to reflect on, going what you would love to do or what you dream. And I can only encourage you to, keep your dreams alive and find the first iteration or the first partners or the first mentors or the first friends who say, oh, let's do it. And maybe, you're not following the 100% version of it, but start the first as fast as you can and kind of develop, because over the time you develop your own iterations of this. And you might be interesting for a couple of years in something which is a sidetrack, and then you go back and maybe find back to your dream, or your dream evolves. So it's a very long journey, and so far it's probably the longest time, 10 minutes, which I haven't talked about technology in the most recent years, because that's where I'm mostly in, trying to inspire people about building these desirable futures. So, and I think there's obviously multiple choices you have throughout your lifetime. And maybe I can just leave you with one or two tips what helped me, or what I wish I maybe knew a little bit earlier. I think one of the biggest thing was, over the last couple of really like decades, is that I always got help from friends and from the network. So when I was out of a job, or when I started a new company or something, you always could always do better if you have a bigger network. So if you are developing friends, you keep them in your network, you keep them in your social streams or whatever. People getting in and out of a universe, so to say, of your universe. But there's always points in time. Sometimes for 2 years you don't speak. After 3 years you basically can renew the friendship, and people evolve themselves. So sometimes also you are speaking of the moon and so on. So on this trajectory where you sometimes meet twice, and or you always meet twice. And sometimes you might say, this was very inspiring. Then for 2 years, somebody went on a different, circle. But if you come back, most of the times you can rekindle your friendship. And, a lot helped me also that, you might get an introduction from a friend to somebody who helps you, excel in your dream career or whatever you want. It's not necessarily always the first context, but sometimes it's the, let's say, weak singles or the loose contacts of maybe the second generation. So that's, I think, really inspiring and helped me a lot. And another one is that, especially if you know what you like and where you want to go, that you develop some kind of resilience, let's say. So something helps you even working out kinks or challenges when inside you have your own story and your dream. I think that is, again, maybe coming back to this stories, I know some of you, I mean, my daughters, they were devouring Harry Potter, and you have books you love. And I think this is something you want to take on in your life, and see if you find early on also mentors, people who understand you, who give you a tip, who introduce you to other people. And I think what Marcello is doing in Davos and introducing you to some of the, let's say, all the guys and gals and ladies who are there. I think we all love to, hang out with you. And I think nobody will say no if you ask for advice. I think that is something the older people get. People will like to hang out with young people and help you on your way and are curious. So I hope you can find now in the break more time to also interact and talk. I hope I didn't talk too much.